That's awesome. Would you say you were nervous about what you're about to share today more, or it's just life in general is a bit hectic at the moment?
Life in general is a bit hectic at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Why do you think you are ready to speak about something so intimate that perhaps many men would say it bruises their ego and they'd rather go to the grave with it?
For me, I think what I went through and some of the challenges that I experienced along the way, they sort of like stirred me towards actually saying, I want to share my story and I want to make a difference because I believe that my purpose in life is to serve and to help people.
Sure.
And what better way to help people than to actually share my story and what I've gone through and what I've experienced. So I think that's why I also took this opportunity to come and have this sit down with you and just show other men out there that it happens, and it also important for you to also not be angry at yourself and feel less of a man because of any traumatic experience that you might have gone through.
Sure. That's a strong one because what happened to you often makes a person define themselves around the trauma.
No, it's definitely true because I mean, the trauma in itself, has certain aspects and layers that, it chipped away from me as a person. Obviously I had self-doubt, and I couldn't understand why it happened, after it had happened. And you also question yourself and your manhood, especially being a Xhosa man and having gone to the mountain and then you experience what I experienced.
Yeah.
Then you ask yourself, Aibo Ijani, how does Ijani go through this? And does it make you less of a man? No, it doesn't. But what I decided it was not to allow that experience to shape me as a person or allow society, because when they find out or when they found out some of the people, there's certain labels and tags that they are attached to my name. So I felt that it is important to actually speak out about it and share my story and my journey.
Taking back to primary school, would you say you lived a comfortable, soft life while you were in primary school?
Yes, I definitely did. So I grew up with my grandmother here in Joburg, but then I also went back to the Eastern Cape. So I came from a household that, was full of love, especially during Umdana Makulu. And at the time, because I also identify as homosexual, at the time, I never understood why sometimes they never wanted me to go play out in the streets with other kids. They always wanted me to be indoors. But as I grew older, then I came to understand that they were also actually protecting me from what could have happened at the time. I mean, you hear stories about boys being molested at a very young age.
Sure.
And sexual grooming, but at that time you were not thinking about that. So in primary I was a very confident child. I was smart. I was always in the top 3. So academically I was doing well, and I was a very expressive, artistic child.
Yeah. That is interesting because it introduces a different layer, which perhaps we'll answer as we unpack. Would you say when you are black like us growing up in either a township or a rural area and other kids can recognize and elders can recognize that perhaps you are queer or homosexual, it opens you up to dangers of violence?
No, definitely it does, especially in areas where people are not informed or educated. I mean, even though I grew up in a loving and warm household, I did experience, being bullied in school, especially by older boys. And one experience that comes to mind actually was this one time during PT, and we had to go for swimming, and these older guys, they were chit chatting and were changing into our swimwear. And then I overheard them saying, what would you do if you had to take someone home, and then only to find out that it's someone like OLWEThu. And then the other one was like, no, I'll definitely, fuck them, you know? So in that moment, sorry for my language.
No stress.
And then in that moment, I quickly changed back into my school uniform because I felt so uncomfortable. And I never thought that I would be sexualized by people, my peers, especially in school.
Yeah.
But it does open you up to a lot of dangers. You do get bullied, you do get labeled, and there are certain traumas that you don't realize when you're growing up. And then only when you're older, then you're like, oh snap, it was because of this. And then you claw back into this box of questioning yourself and your sense of being, especially during the time when I was growing up.
Did you understand at the time when they were making those comments that it's because you are not like them or you did not conform? Because to say you're not like them sometimes is problematic because a lot of people perform being straight. They are not. Because society demands them to be, and then they harm you in retaliation of what they are denying within themselves. Do you say because you understood who you are, they then bullied you?
Yes, no, definitely. That's why they were bullying me, because even in school, I was topping in the top 3, and I was always friends with girls because I felt safer with girls. And even the conversations with girls were more about school and our aspirations in life. Unlike with boys, it's about soccer. It's about, who's the next girl, who's the hottest girl. And there were never conversations that were constructive instead of like building you as a person. So they definitely, my being now I understand now that my being somewhat also triggered them from whatever they might have experienced as kids. And now, because I'm also very Christian and spiritual, now I also understand that I carry a light, and some people, my light, it shines so bright that it makes them feel inferior. Hence, then they will want to harm you or bully you or make you feel small as a person or make me feel small as a person.
I'm intrigued because we are celebrating or commemorating rather in South Africa at the moment, the violence against women, children, and queer people. And you're saying to me that boy culture, boyhood, or man culture, upto, because people are doing it even in their 30s, 40s. It's still about sports, cars, girls, sexualizing girls, womanizing girls. How many girls can you get? And people seem to never grow out of this. And what they were doing to you, because you were stepping outside of that mentality and you were choosing to be constructive in your life, then they were picking on you.
Yes, no, definitely. And it's sad. It's a sad reality. We can't run away from, but it's also about learning to change the narrative, whether it's with the one person or 2 people, but also being able to call them out, you know, and say there's more to life than what you see. Unfortunately, media as well has contributed in terms of shaping our men in society. And it takes such platforms to actually have these conversations. And at least, even if it's one person who's watching who actually reflects and say, okay, let me take a step back, you know, because like literally, yesterday on Twitter, there was something, trending about the rugby boys from All Boys School, their culture, you know, it doesn't matter. I was saying to my sister, it doesn't matter if a person is educated, it still remains, they will sexualize women, they will will objectify women. They will make them feel small, especially when they are within the circles,
Sure.
zamadoda, and in those boy clubs of theirs.
It feels safe for them. Okay, I want to get us into the crux of why we're here today. And I will guide you, but I will allow you to narrate the story in a manner that is comfortable to your safety, your mental health and emotional safety. And please just take us in to the level of detail that you're best comfortable with, from the very beginning.
So it happened in 2015 on Christmas Eve into Christmas, funny enough. So I'd gone home in the Eastern Cape, to visit my grandmother. So we're home for the holidays. So, there's a girl I grew up with. Well, she's older than me, but she was someone I grew up with. So she came to fetch me from my house and said, let's go to the local tavern, cause says Lalini, right? And then we went there. And then when I got there was this guy who was looking at me, but I didn't pay attention at first. So my friend and I, we got our drinks, a beer, and then he comes. And then I said to my friend, I'm going to the smoking area, the smoking room. So this guy walks in, because I was alone there. He walks into the smoking room and then he's like, he's been having a crush on me. He wants to date me. And at that time, obviously, I was in a relationship and I couldn't agree to go out or date him rather. So then he became forceful. He shut the door and then he's like, you're not going to walk out of here until you agree to date me. And then my friend sees that, no, man, there's something wrong. And then she comes, and then she opens the door. And then I say to her, listen, this guy just made me feel uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go home. Then I asked an uncle of mine, like a family uncle, who was there to actually walk me home. Because now I was scared if he follows me.
Yeah.
And then my uncle walks me home. I get home. So yabona as Lalini, as a man, you'll have an outside room, from the main house. So I go into my room, I lock my room and I sleep. And then it was around the AMs on Christmas, right? And I could hear there was something happening, like with my door, but I wasn't too sure what was it. As I turn, this guy has forced himself in, and then he charges for me, from my bed as I was trying to get up. And that's when, and then he started, saying all these things that, you didn't want to go out with me. So I'm forcing myself on you. That's when he started raping me. And then he said to me that even if you go to the cops, I won't be arrested. And he had like a belty thing here, saying that they believe that it's something that protects them from their crimes. So from the cops, which is why they'll never get arrested. And this is someone who's known for his criminal activities in the village. So he starts raping me. He raped me from around 2 to like 3, and then when he was done he left. So in that moment I started questioning myself, like, what just happened, right? And then the anger I was carrying, when I woke up in the morning, I was like, okay, I need to leave this place, right? So my mom also has a house on the other side of the village, so I was at my grandmother's house. Then my mom comes as I'm packing, and then she's like, why are you leaving? It's on Christmas. Like, you're supposed to be celebrating Christmas with us. Why do you all of a sudden want to go back to Joburg? And I say to her, no, I just don't want to be here anymore. And at this time, I'm emotional. And then my mom comes, she's like, no, talk to me, what's going on? And you must understand this. I think up until that moment, my mom and I never had like a close relationship. My grandmother, yes, but I couldn't bear the reality of telling my grandmother, cause obviously I'm a man. I also questioned myself, is she going to believe me? Does this make me less of a man? Is she going to ask me, why didn't you fight back? And so forth. So my mom is like, no, talk to me. What's going on? And then I start crying. Then I tell her, like, listen, someone broke into, as you can see, the door, cause there was a chip, by the door. And I said, someone broke in and then they raped me. this morning. Hence, I want to go. I want to run away from here. And my mom was like, you're not going to do that. And then the first thing she did was to give me a warm hug, to say it is fine. What do you want to do? How can I support you? And then she was like, no, let's go open a case. Do you want to open a case? And I said, yes. So we went, so we got into the car, and then as we were driving out of our village to go to the police station, fortunately it was in December and they were patrolling, but there's no police station in our village. So the next police station is about 20 minutes away. And then we bump into, as we're driving, we bump into the cops, the police van, and then my mom stops them, and then she leaves me in the car. She goes to them, she tells them that, listen, Mdanam has been raped, lapha emotweni, we want to open a case. And then these two cops come. It was one guy and a female cop. And then they come and then they look, and then it was actually the male cop that walked to the car first. And then he's like, Aiboma, umfana nje lona, umfana, how does another man get raped by another man? Right. And my mom is like, what kind of question is that? Right. And then this guy says, unfortunately, the police station is closed as they're doing their rounds or patrols. So we had to then go to Queenstown, like the main town now, which is about 45 Ks to 60 Ks, because you drive on gravel road, and then you still have to join the main road, which is a tarred road, to actually get to town. So we go to town, we get to the police station in town. We say, okay, this is what's happening. We're here to open a case, a rape case. It happened, and then I give them details when it happened. And then also the cops were like, I don't know, we've never had this case before. And luckily, and then they were like, no, you guys, because you are not from here, it didn't happen here because of jurisdiction and geographic location. You need to go back to that same police station where they had said that it's closed because they're doing patrols. And then fortunately, I think by the grace of God, the station commander of the police station in town was like, no, but you can't turn them back. And then he called the station commander from Kealeboga to tell him what's happening. And then they actually then sent a van from town, from my village to town to where we were. And then we had to wait for like an hour, 30 minutes to 2 hours, for the police from Kealeboga to actually come to town. And then upon arrival, they were not even carrying the rape kit. So they had to borrow and sign for a rape kit. And imagine we had been there now from like 4 or 5. So we're waiting all this time, and then it's a process
in the morning.
So now we had to go in the evening, because remember in the evening, during the day I had locked myself up until my mom came while I was packing. Yeah. So then now, while we're busy, okay, so they're signing out for this rape kit, and then they say, so because it's a rape incident, as much as you open the the case at the police station, then you still need to drive to the hospital, to a government hospital, where you need to be tested, by doctors, and then the police have to be present in the room wherever they're conducting or examining you. So we got there. When we got there, the doctor that was on call, it was a young intern doctor, and then the doctor that was on duty, and then he's like, hey, I've never done this before. Let me call an older doctor. There's a term that they call in the medical sector for older doctors. And then he came, and it was an old man who apparently at the time had more than 30 years of experience. And then he says, for all the 30 years he's been a medical doctor, he's never experienced something like this, and he doesn't even know that he's going to conduct this thing correctly, but he's going to. So they took my underwear, and then they had to strip me naked so that they test for DNA and check if there was any penetration. And mind you, now in this moment, there's the male cop who had also questioned
the validity of this incident.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. And then there's also the other doctor. He said, I've never experienced this. I don't know what's going on. Hence they called the other doctor the senior doctor that was on call. So now there's also this senior doctor who's conducting this test, and I'm laying there thinking to myself, is he even going to do this thing the right way? Is all of this that I'm doing, is it even worth it? You know? And then they also say that, and then you also overhear the other cops saying that, and there's also a backlog in terms of in South Africa, in terms of rape DNAs. And I'm sitting there and I'm asking myself, is this humiliation and that I'm going through, is it worth it? But fine, they do everything, they finish, we write, and then I get tested for HIV, and then they give you PrEP, I think PEP, sorry, and then they give you the medication, which also makes you feel small, it does something to you, as a person. If you're someone who've never taken it before, the side effects are horrible. So there was also that. And then now I had to go back, to the village and face that reality. And because Kuses Lalini, by the time we drove back, Ndalo I say Pumil. And now I went back to that child that was always bullied because of their sexuality and how they identified. And my grandmother's house is by the main road. So people driving and walking past my house will always check, where's this person, you know? Abanye didn't even know me. So they wanted to see me. And then, I remember my one cousin that I was close to at the time, when I told, because he came to see me after he heard the story. And then when I told him about it, he was like, you won't believe what my mother said. And this is someone who's educated, by the way. And he said that his mother said, is it because engubutsisi? Itini ndoga olwethu. Right. And hearing those comments, obviously, they make you feel small as a person.
Correct.
Especially from someone who is educated, who works in the education sector.